Hello, it's Tamara Hunter, and today is day number 113 of 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service, and it is my honor to be sharing with you our amazing service hero. I want you to meet Luci McMonagle. I love it. She was helping me to sound out her name because many of you are finding out that, yes, I do have a little bit of a problem with my mouth when it comes to last names. We'll go into that another time. But Luci was helping me through that. Thank you. Another service hero trait. I want you to understand something today. This is a very deeply special show. I don't go into it a lot. But there was some times in my life that were pretty difficult. And Luci and I think, share some of those in different ways. However, she is going to be sharing with you today some information that really hits my heart. And I know it's going to hit many of yours. And the good news here is that she also has an amazing day job, wink, wink, if you know what I mean. It's actually her company, and it's a passion of hers, and she's out there making a difference in that too. And so I want to just say thank you for being here, Luci, and thank you for being you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on here, and I have really enjoyed being of service for everybody.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, as we were visiting just now, and total disclosure, you guys, I'm an open book. That's just the way it is in life. This morning's been one of those mornings that everything with technology that could have been trying for me to get this show up and going today was happening. And I said to Luci, you know what, there's got to be a reason why, there's just going to be a gift out of this. And then as we were visiting, my whole body went into a chill mode because of the fact that I kind of understood what it was. And I want to start talking with why it is that I want to highlight Luci as not only a service hero, but a service hero with a huge heart that has overcome. Luci, to say that you have had a trying life is probably, to put it pretty mild, right?
Yes.
And yet you're here. And I met you in San Diego at a global influencers summit. Now, you are a major big deal in your industry. Guys, we have a superstar on today. May I say that to have Luci on the show, many people would be like, how did you do it? How did you get her on your show? Because she's such a big deal. Not to like put her up on a pedestal. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just letting you guys know this woman knows what she's talking about when we talk about the day job stuff. But we're not going to go there quite yet. You guys get to find out in a little bit. You were raised back. Why don't you tell us about give the short story of your childhood, and then I want to go into the meat and potatoes of your story.
So I'm going to be really open and raw here. A lot of individuals have not heard this about my life. So I just wanted to let everybody know that my mom and dad, I was born in the late 60s, and my mom and dad were always struggling. My dad was moving from place to place trying to find work. He dragged my mom from Michigan to West Virginia to Chicago to Illinois, and it was tough. It was tough for them. And this was his second marriage. And then they got custody of my half sister Vicky when she was very young, and within a short period of time, she passed. She and her friend decided to go fill up squirt guns on the river, which was frozen. And as most people know, rivers don't freeze, not all the way through. And she she didn't survive. They didn't find her body for days afterwards. And my mom went into total shock. My dad was a truck driver at the time, and he was in such shock that he couldn't even bear to come home right away. He needed to finish his load, and he didn't know how to handle it, so he began drinking heavily, and he got very, very violent. He finally got to the house and he burned everything that belonged to Vicky. He didn't want to have any evidence left, and from there it got worse and worse and worse until finally he started coming after me and my sister because he didn't want any remembrances of any family. So my mom had to leave. And she wasn't prepared in the 60s and the early 70s to raise two young girls, me and my other sister that was surviving. And so we had a lot of struggles. We were always on government assistance. I always had hand-me-down clothes from my sister. I usually wore patches on my clothes because, they wore out.
Right.
And so that just became very, very difficult growing up in the small town. Then as a single mom, she's working 2-3 jobs. She's doing the best that she can. And then the pedophiles started coming because they seen how vulnerable my family was. So moving beyond all that, I became a young mother. It was in my 20s. I wasn't that young. I was finished with high school. But I made bad choices. I wasn't a drug addict or anything like that. I didn't make those kind of bad choices, but I just made bad choices in relationships and picking the right kind of people. So I was a single mom, and I got to the point where I had to choose between eating crackers or feeding my son while I'm working 2-3 jobs, temp jobs, whatever I could find. And so that's kind of like the beginning of my life up through my early 20s.
Wow. So in other words, what happened was you had all of this major, huge trauma. I mean, you had to have been excited when your half sister came to the house because here another sister, right? And how old were you when she arrived?
I think I was only maybe 1 because she died by the time I was 3.
Little. This is one of your sisters, 2 bigger sisters, right? Two bigger sisters. Excitement, yes, there might not be a lot of finances, but at that time in your life, you don't know that. You're a kid, right? And squirt guns, who doesn't love that kind of stuff? Even if it's cold, that can be part of the fun too. And then I am only figuring out, we all have different things, these kind of memories. You're hearing these stories and then it's like, oh my gosh, I remember something similar and how I felt. I can only imagine what that would be like. And to have those days of not knowing where your sister was before her body was found and what had happened, that had to have been a shift in the whole energy of the home. And here's your father out on the road as a trucker, and your mother had to have been, I was pregnant one time and I had a son that was just a crazy young guy. And, I'm living in Anaheim Hills and here's the helicopter and all the police looking for him. And I'm pregnant thinking, oh my gosh, I'm losing one and I'm bringing another one into the world. He was found, but I remember those feelings, and that was only for a half of a day. And here you're sharing that your mother went through all of those days. And here you're little, your sister's little, your father comes back, and then everything changes in your world. And then to have everything else that you shared, and thank you for being so open and so raw and so honest and feeling so that it's so important. And I can't even thank you enough for that, because as I was sharing with you, I work with a community of people that are going through some pretty big stuff. And when you're fighting for your life medically, and then you have all of this other happening at you, people throwing divorce papers at you, and then you have a choice of either, do I continue treatment or do I keep a roof over my children's head? But if I don't continue treatment, what's going to happen to my children? And they're living that right now. And a lot of people don't understand that. And for you to be this vulnerable with your story, I can't even thank you enough, because I want to continue and share the good news. And the work that you we have some people making comments, and I can only see sort of what they're saying. And we have David Jones in the house. He's saying hi to everybody. We've got Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. We've got Sharon. She's here. Sharon's one of our buddy ambassadors, Lucy. And then we have Pam Henson. Pam. Then we have. I want to share this. Thank you for being vulnerable too, Sharon. Sharon, our ambassador, she can relate to the violence. She has a stepfather that she calls dad. And Sharon, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know. And but when we let these things out, we're healing. We're letting it go. And what we're doing too is we're bringing in that positive energy. And I want to go there with you and kind of go into what you understand about the world and kind of the big deals about it. But okay, so you're young. You have your child. You said it was a son?
Yeah, I had a son. I still have a son.
Yeah, okay.
He's just not a baby anymore.
Yeah, no, they grow up, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, and that's always an odyssey too. And I love it. I have 4 of them, 3 sons and a daughter, so I understand that.
Wow, you are so blessed.
Yes, I am, and I now am a nana, so that's the best of the worlds. Yeah. I have the grandkids, and I just love those. All right, so yes. So you're a single mom, and the way I want to kind of go into this because of where we're going to be going here into the future. You had to learn at a young age, and it's not like you were brought up in an environment where your mother had the time. She may have had the desire, but let's give credit where credit is due. She was doing everything she could to try to get you out of a situation, not probably knowing that you were in, it's difficult when you don't have the ability to protect your children, and your mother obviously she was trying to help you from one situation, not probably realizing she was going down the road to another one. And those are difficult choices, and you're trying to do your very best. And so she is sharing, she's trying to bring you girls up. She's doing the 3-job thing, and she's trying to keep the food in the mouth and the roof over the head and the clothes, what they may be, but they're at least on your back. And then you go out there, and I am certainly not the person that is good at this, but I've been through enough of therapy to at least understand that, like when I look back on my own life, I have to be okay with some of the decisions I made, because at that very moment in time, that's what I had the tools for. And, and so you go into your young adulthood, and with the experiences that you had, and you have your son, you're working the 3 jobs. And sometimes they're temp jobs. So sometimes temp jobs, they come and go. And the way that the system was working is that they were always 3 months back in reporting, right? Is what you were sharing. So you may have 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 weeks, 3 months.
3 months.
3 months. 3 months of feast. But then you go into the famine time, and they take any kind of assistance away because of those 3 months of feast. And so it's a roller coaster that you were riding during that time. And you had to make that choice that a cracker for you and nutritious or food for your son was how you were going to do it. And that had when you were seeing this, and then to know what you do now, where did the education and the awareness come for you? That and was there like an epiphany, a shift? How did that all happen? I'd love to find that out. I'm ever so curious, to be honest with you.
Yes. Yeah, there was an epiphany and a shift, and what I call is my greatest moment was I cracked. I cracked. I just crumbled.
How
Tears
could
were
you
falling
not
down
have?
my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm staring at my baby's food as I'm making it in the little blender because I couldn't afford to buy the pre-made stuff, and I wanted to eat his food. And I felt so guilty and so ashamed that I swore to God I would find a way out of this misery. I made a vow so strong that it cracked that poverty in my family. And it was because of that vow, because I crumbled and I turned it over to God, or however you want to say it, because I don't know if I used the word. I wasn't very religious at that time. I didn't belong to any domination, but I made a decision that I would find a way out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that seed, that decision, that gave me the strength to open up my mind, to start actively looking for opportunities to dig myself out of this, what I called was HELL, because there was nothing more painful than knowing that I don't know how I'm going to feed my son. And when I go to the foods bank, I don't know if the food's going to be moldy like normal.
Right.
And, or not.
And this is a story about you, but this is a story that's so universal, and unfortunately, some that are going to be hearing that is going to say, yeah, that moldy food is what I look at right now.
Yes.
And having to make those choices right now for the same reasons. Okay, I'm going to give the non-moldy food to my children, and if there's anything left, no matter what that is, that's what my choice will be. And unfortunately, they're in the United States and throughout the world, that's not that is something that many are still facing. And so yes. I'm sure they're like, okay, so you cracked, you started looking, where did you go? You made that vow. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm a movie person. I'm hearing, Gone with the Wind right now. I will never go hungry again, and that the takeaway, and yeah, I'm being a little dramatic here, but that's where my mind is going right now. I'm seeing this in that type of a moment as you're blending this food up for your son, and you want to eat it because you're that hungry. Your stomach is probably turning inside out. Yes. And that is a hard place to be.
It's a very hard place to be. Absolutely.
I've been there too, and it's hard. Okay, so you start looking. Now. How did you do that? Where did you look? Because this is not the day of you can just pick up your phone and start Googling.
Yeah, no, we didn't have internet then. You couldn't just pick up your phone, and if you were lucky if you had a phone. A lot of times I didn't have a phone because I couldn't afford the $25 a month.
Right.
But
right.
I started selling my dishes. What I could, because I had inherited my dishes from my aunt, so they were Depression era dishes. I started asking my neighbors. I started to look in the newspaper. I started seeking something that would ground me, and I started bumping into people at the Inner Peace Foundation, and I found mentors who were helping me, and I went through a mentorship program with an agency that and all of these mentors were free. So I was qualifying for the different free mentors. And so I had older people who would help me to make better decisions, who would help me to start putting my spirituality in the mix of things, because I had none before. I honestly thought that God had forsaken me in a lot of circumstances of my life. And so I got the training, but more importantly, the most important thing was I started to apply the new knowledge, the new information. I started to get books at, I would be given books, and I would get books at the host, not the wholesale, but the resale shops,
Right,
the charity
exactly.
shops.
Yes, yes.
And I bumped into Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Body.
Love,
And
love, 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 love. Yes, her.
I would do diligently every single day. I'd get up early, and my son, fortunately, he always slept really good, and so I'd write out my affirmations,
Yes.
and from the Louise Hay book, and slowly but surely, I started to take care of myself emotionally, which was one of the main things of starting to take care of my mindset, which
Right.
was one of the main things, and of moving forward, to start replacing my negative thoughts with my positive thoughts. And I started replacing my inner darkness with inner light. And so moving forward, I had to learn how to forgive myself.
Yes.
And I learned that, I made the decisions with what knowledge, abilities, and skills that I had at the time.
Right.
Just like my mom did, just like my grandma did, and all of my family.
Mm-hmm. The generations, right?
Yeah, the generations. And I started getting generational clearings. And I started getting trained on how to remove generational patterns out of my life.
Yes.
And it was so blissful. For the first time in my life, I started to have silence in my mind. Instead of all these crazy thoughts, wondering what ifs, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? I started to experience peace in my late 20s for the very first time in my life, because I was doing all of this work and being able to forgive myself easy when I slipped.
I want to go over that, because I think that this is the key right here. You
Mm-hmm.
So many of us, I don't think, understand. I'm a genealogist. I love it. I love the whole concept of, the actual genealogy tree. Well, as I started studying genealogy, and I started then actually at the GIS Summit, some of the events that took place there, one in particular in the evening, it was fascinating to me. I had never seen anything like that before, and yet it made so much sense to me, because it was also generational. It's the generational clearing that you're talking about. I had never even heard of that, and yet I had been thinking about it, because in my family, I talk about this very openly, 4 generations of cancer, and it all comes through one line, all one line. And now I actually think as I've been studying, so you start looking at these things, and you start looking at family patterns. Well, even without that, you always remember, whenever you hear something like, oh, you do that just like your mother, or, when you smile, you'll remind me of your grandmother. I mean, these are things that we take for granted and you hear all the time. And yet, you never really think. It's like the depression, your aunt's depression, China. I love things like that too, because you think about, okay, not only the China itself, but what kind of meals were served on that, and if you could know what her favorite recipes were, and then you might even look at the patterns and say, oh, now I get it. I get why all of this, because there is love and emotion and heartache and pain and pleasure and all of that has lived before us in our families. And how can we not think that somehow that's going to be transferred? I never really thought it that deep. However, it started coming to me as I was trying to figure out how to stop, in my world, the cancer to go. It's already, my daughter's already had it. I have 4 children. I don't want to hear those words again. I just don't. And if I can do something to break that cycle, I want to do it, right? In your family, you're doing this work. You're you're realizing, you're opening yourself up to looking at, I'm sure as you're writing this down. I love Louise Hay and Hay House, because just everybody that's associated with that group, you can learn so much from, right? And I then became a student of them also when I was going through some of my work. And so I'm thinking, okay, I wonder if same assignments maybe even. And so as you were doing this, and you are starting to have this calm mind, and you're listening to what your world is going to look like, and kind of finding your way in it. And how did you find what it is that you do now? And why don't you start talking about that? Because to me, now it's even more fascinating. I was fascinated with you the night that we sat around that fire and had fun and visited and just, all the stuff we were doing. It was St. Patrick's Day, and we're wearing all this fun stuff, and, and we're laughing and we're giggling and we're just joking around, and you're sharing, and I'm thinking, oh man, there's just something wonderful about this woman. And I had absolutely no idea just how wonderful. And, so how did you break the work, I'm sure, is part of breaking the pattern. But then how did you shift it to go into what you're doing? And let's hear about it. It's pretty cool.
So one of the ways that I started shifting it is I was working through the Inner Peace Foundation, and I was working through the teachers, and I've always had these experiences, these uncanny things go on in my life, like spirits climbing onto my bed and seeing ghosts. And I've seen therapies like, is there something wrong with me? I mean, but, they couldn't really, I didn't really have a mental disease or anything, because everything I sensed or I heard was beneficial and helpful, which is not typical signs of a mental disease. So I got checked out for them, and they said, oh, you're a healer. And I'm like, I'm a healer? And then as I was explaining stuff to them, they started realizing I had these gifts. I had spiritual gifts that, I can hear spirit and see spirit, and sense archangels and guardian angels. And so I started developing my spiritual side, and I started working through the psychic fairs and helping individuals with their life issues, things that they weren't able to. And one of my gifts is when I'm talking to people, I can see as clear as can be the direction their words, their actions, their thoughts are taking them. And if they don't want to go there, then I explain to them, you have a choice, because the future isn't laid in stone.
No.
And we're capable of changing that if you're willing to do the work.
Bingo.
And that's the hard part.
That right there.
To do the work.
Yeah, and that's a loaded few words that's a lot. It's easy to say and not always easy to do, right?
Absolutely. And I've fallen down the hill many times when I was like, oh, this is just too hard. Right. Oh my gosh, this is because you're restructuring your belief systems. You're restructuring everything that you thought was the truth, and you find out that it's a potential truth and possibly even lies. And
and then you kind of and then you have to, sometimes you have to even go, where did it originate, and so that you can break that, and cut that cord, break that cycle, whatever it may be. The work that needs to be done, right? And to be brutally truthful with yourself. And
I wouldn't say
that
brutally.
Sometimes the hardest way? Because I don't know about you, Lucy, but having had having lived life, wink, wink, sometimes when it's not necessarily the Leave It to Beaver kind of life, and guys, don't get me wrong, I had amazing family, but life happens. So when that happens, when you're in the mix of whatever that is, and if it's very hard or even traumatic or it's even violent, in some cases, your mind and your soul tries to protect you, right?
Yes.
And so you can't blame your mind, your soul, and your heart for trying to protect you.
Mm-mm.
However, you get through the other side, and that protection that was needed at that moment may then become the behavior and the learned, if you will, learned behavior, learned skills, if roughly said, that you now need to shift and break and readjust to what are healthy patterns, right?
Correct.
And that is not easy to do.
No, because you're replacing darkness with light. You're replacing the anxiety, the frustration, the blaming, the drama,
Right.
and all of these other senses that we've learned how to protect ourselves.
Right.
And
That self-preservation, yes. and our body and our souls and whatever your beliefs are, divine, God, however you want to look at it, I just see it as a gift that we were given to get through some of the rough things that we may have to go through in our life, to then become stronger. And what you did, Luci, and this is why I just absolutely adore and love you, is that you came through all of this. You're learning who you are and what your gifts are. Obviously, they are truly gifts. And you decide to not only help yourself and your son, but you start to decide to help many, many, many others. And now you have what some people call a tribe, a community, a group of people that absolutely love, adore you, and it's huge. You are helping so many people in so many ways. Why don't you share now what it is that is your core strength of that you now are taking out there? Because I find it so fascinating, because it's almost like you're taking one area that is like concrete, and then you're taking one area that's like abstract. You've married it in such a way that it's fascinating, interesting, and even entertaining. And you have a way of production, even with the pictures that you use. And guys, I'm sorry I had technical difficulties. I don't have some of the pictures I would normally share, but some of your pictures and things that that I see, I just giggle to myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a fun photo shoot.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So
what the greatest gift I do right now is I help individuals bridge their spirituality, whatever that means to them,
right,
with practical step-by-step applications. Because in truth, if we're not fully balanced with our mind, our body, and our spirit, there's going to be some kind of disease, if you will say.
Or there'll be some kind of own it myself. Yes.
Misalignment. And then so we have the triad. We have the lifestyle, which is your practicalities. We have the spirituality, and then we have the mindset.
Right.
And we take those three, and I have it in a very practical, step-by-step, methodical, because I'm very methodical. And I have it lined up in my book, Magical Money Manifestations, and how to break the mindset, how to overcome your fear-based. And a lot of people think, oh, magical money manifestation, money's just going to magically appear in my life.
Grow on that tree. It's finally going to happen.
Well, if you have a fruit tree in front of your house, yes, it will, because you can sell those fruit.
Yeah.
for greens.
See, this is why I love you. Okay, so there's that smile.
so I look at what, and you can apply anything that you want to this mindset, because first there's thought, then there's words, and then there's actions. And if you pay attention and you start tracking, what are my thoughts, without beating yourself up, because a lot of times they're just random thoughts you picked up throughout your entire life, maybe from you, maybe from somebody else, maybe from a teacher, a mom, a dad, a social worker, a kid on the playground, and you took it to heart at that time. Right. So it keeps coming up over and over again, and it'll be like a little broken record in the background, very quietly. And I'm going to teach you a technique to find these hidden hidden thoughts that are in the background. And, and a lot of people, they see this with the mudra where you put your pointer finger and your thumb together.
Okay.
So, and you can, I put my hands up so you can see it with the camera, but you can relax. And then now a lot of people don't tell you that that's part one. Now, part two is to take the tip of your tongue and feel on the roof of your mouth behind your teeth. There's a mound. It's almost like an M. And in the center, you want to put your tip, not your tongue, but your tip of your tongue on there.
Okay.
And then you want to breathe in, focused, balanced, centered. You want to hold it for a second. Then you want to breathe out anything that's chaos. You want to breathe in, focused, balanced, centered. You want to hold it, bringing it all the way down to your toes. And then you want to bring all drama out of your body. Breathe out drama. You want to breathe in, focused, balanced, centered. You want to feel it at your base. You want to breathe out anything that's causing anxiety, frustration, fear. And one more time, breathe in nice and deep. Focus, balance, centered. Hold it. Let go of your fingers. Let go of your tongue. Breathe out. And for a millisecond, pay attention to your mind. That one little millisecond or 2 seconds. You have silence. You have the ability to hear what's going on in the background. You have the ability to hear what your true inner soul self is telling you. And once you're able to tap into your GPS, which is this technique right here, you're going to know what the next step is going to be. And it takes practice.
Yeah.
My mind, when I first learned that practice, it took me weeks and weeks. And I was like, I'm trying so hard and it's not working. And I'm going around like crazy. And I'm like, I swear I'm ADHD or maybe I'm bipolar. Oh my God, maybe I'm bipolar. And I'm like coming up with all these hypochondriac kind of things. And then finally, one of my teachers kind of got mad at me. They're just like, put your hands on your ears like this and just say, be silent. Be silent.
Oh, that's good.
And so I started doing that before I started doing the breathing exercises. Then all of a sudden my head went blank, like literally blank. For over a week. I couldn't even think a thought. It was crazy.
Like, okay,
I'm like, wow.
Did I go too far?
Yeah, I was concerned I did go too far, to tell you the truth.
I cleared it out completely. We're starting over again.
It did. So, getting to that, when you can start calming down your thoughts, because your thoughts always your thoughts and your perception of that thought precedes your emotions and your feelings.
Isn't that the truth? That is so true. That is so true. We've got a few people saying a few things, and I don't want to neglect them. Sharon is saying bless you, and that you were set free. Renee Reich, another one of our service heroes, she just thinks you're wonderful. I agree, Renee. And then Tracy, yeah, you want to watch this. Tracy is an amazing woman, and we'll be learning more about Tracy here soon, guys. That she actually has a nonprofit that is working with horses out of the Arizona area, and her son was military, and then her son is no longer with us. And she's working through that in giving and serving others. And so, yes, she will be here soon, highlighted. And in fact, I love the fact that Frank Shankwitz, loves her mission, is supporting her and helping her. And Tracy's just this amazing, beautiful soul. And it's not easy. It's not easy to be a single mom. It's not easy to raise your children. And then, like your mother and your father, when they lost your half sister, and you know what it's like to lose, and Tracy, is dealing with that. She's still dealing with it, and she's trying to help others for doing that, and with horse therapy. And Tracy, I don't know about you, but I'm certainly going to be doing these techniques. I love that you shared these with us, Lucy. Thank you so much. Now, you have so many different programs, and I also wanted to highlight you as a service hero. Originally, I've been thinking about this for a while because of the fact you give so much, even in your posts. You're like with what you just did right now. You didn't hold that information back. You lovingly and openly shared this amazing, wonderful tool. And if your brain goes, cattywampus for a week, enjoy the quiet, because it will it will come back, and you probably need that quiet time. Is that what you found? Is that you needed it? Is that what it was?
Yes, because in that silence, it was the first time in my life I actually touched my own divinity. And before that, I didn't believe it. I didn't even know it existed. I mean, I've heard people talk about it, and I was like, maybe they're on something. I was pretty sarcastic when I was in my early 20s.
I love your personality. You got the best.
But I was able to touch me, and it was just a little bit at first, and then you get to decide how to bring more and more light back, how to bring back your soul pieces that you've left somewhere in the sands of time, how to start experiencing bliss, and your spiritual manifestation power starts powering up. And man, I want to talk about things being uncanny. Before I used to be a fantastic manifester of drama and trauma, and then I started being a manifester of wealth and abundance and joy and happiness.
That's what I want to go there before we end today, because I think that this is a very important piece to what I just find so amazing about you. When I was saying that you give gifts all the time with your posts, and you'll even, like this week, these things, and I mean, I read them. I follow and I read, and I am noticing, there's a lot of really amazing things that are happening on what I'm doing, and some of it I do believe is because of you. I mean, I really do. When you're sharing so openly, that's part of that whole. I mean, because isn't the way that it's supposed to be, and this is the thing that I am really trying to share with people, is that it's not supposed to be that we compartmentalize dirt. We compartmentalize our neighborhoods. We are on this side of the tracks versus that side of the tracks. That we, believe that we fit in this income tier, and we're constantly putting ourselves into boxes. We're constantly putting ourselves into almost an imaginary walled or, closed off thing. And aren't we supposed to get rid of all of that and let the energy flow? And in having that energy flow, the way that really, if you start looking at the divine, you look at the way that whatever your belief system is, whoever it is that created all of this amazing, amazing wonderfulness, didn't see it in a compartmentalized way, in a way to cut things off, and you are over there and I am over here, and that's where it's going to stay. It's about helping each other, and it's about having it flow, right? And in doing so, you're attracting what it is that you then are, like you were saying, you do the work and you're attracting what it is that you're looking for, right? And you have to know what that is to attract it, right?
Exactly.
Am I getting there?
No.
Pardon?
you do need, in order to know where you're going, you do need to know what you desire and what you're
Right.
choosing. See, that's very important, what you're
I like
choosing to
that. Yes,
experience.
yes. That word is very important.
That word is very important because a lot of
Choice.
people say I want, which creates the desire of wanting. So when you, and I'm going to say this real quick because I only have a few minutes before I have to hop off to my next
Absolutely.
next show. And so being careful, what are the actual meanings of the words and the thoughts of the words that you use?
Important,
Because
yes.
when I used to say I want, oh, I was manifesting the desire of wanting so bad. And it was almost as if I could just almost touch it.
Right.
And then it would be snatched away from me, kind of like the rug being pulled out underneath me. Ooh, that used to make me so mad. And then I discovered I can choose to experience this.
Okay. Yes.
And being careful on how you utilize your words, because your subconscious, whatever you call it, actually takes things literally.
Yes.
And a lot of times, if you catch yourself saying, that's what I said, but that's not what I meant, it's because your manifesting abilities takes things literally if you utilize words rather than feelings, emotions. So be
If
careful.
anybody wants to find out more about you, do you think
Yes.
that you could double back with us in the comments and put your information in there on how to, your website, fan pages, anything that you have, because I have a feeling just in what the comments are, there's going to be people that are going to want to follow you. They're going to possibly want to talk with you. You are an amazing woman and you have so much to offer. I want to thank you, Luci.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for being the service hero that you are. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being so open today and sharing today in this format what you did, because I believe you are going to help so many to see that everything in this world can be overcome. We can do this, and if we do it together, if we really believe and we know that we can reach out, and like you did, to these groups that were free. You found them, you just decided, you cracked, you decided no more. So it's not like you had to go and buy your way out. You went out there and did the work. You did the work, and you did the work, and it wasn't easy, but you did it. And now you're helping many, many, many people. And I just want to say that you are an amazing, amazing, gifted, wonderful, beautiful, fun soul. And I am just so honored to know you. So as we close day number 113 of 365 days of awesome, celebrate success through service. Luci, I want to thank you for being the service hero that you are, and the example of love and support and unity and awareness and flow and function and everything that's out there to bring abundance into our lives in every single way. Have a wonderful day, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. And I'll see all of you later tomorrow. Bye.